Hi, I'm Carla Budarak and welcome to Behavior Communicates. Today I am honored and thrilled to have Christy Laughlin on the show today. She is a longtime friend and mentor. Christy is an educational consultant for the Indiana Resource Center for Autism, and she has worked as a speech-language pathologist, audiologist, autism consultant, professional development supervisor, and school administrator. In 2007, she received a Lifetime Achievement Award for the Indiana Speech and Hearing Association called Honors of the Association for her leadership and years of service. Christy also received Best in School Advocacy from the Autism Society of Indiana, the Outstanding Performance Award from Noblesville Schools, and was honored with an award from Sertoma for not only her dedicated service but also becoming the first female president in their association's history. Christy has presented at countless conventions, seminars, and workshops all over the U.S. and Canada, and in 2013 she received the Dr. Jim Ball Scholarship for a Dedicated Professional from the Autism Society of America. Christy was instrumental in getting local theaters to implement a program called Sensory Friendly Movies for Autism, which ultimately served as a model for national movie companies to implement all over the United States. As you can see, Christy is a proven leader, connector, and innovator for children on the spectrum. If you're an educator or a parent, you do not want to miss out on the 5 secrets that Christy shares in our interview. Take a look. Christy, welcome to Behavior Communicates. I am so thrilled that you're here today.
Well, thank you. I'm happy to be here.
And as a educational consultant for the Indiana Resource Center for Autism, tell the people watching today what one role that you have in that position.
Okay, one of the roles that I have is working as an educational consultant. We have what we call professional development in autism sites where we go into public schools and we work with a team from that school for at least a minimum of 1 year. Sometimes we're in schools for 3 and 4 years. And we teach that team how to implement evidence-based practices for autism so that we can have better student outcomes for the students with autism. And then also we're looking for better trained staff and those implement in those evidence-based practices and having some sustainability in that training that we give them.
Right, so you're building local capacity for them to function at some point without your consultation.
Right.
And when you go into a school, what are the things that you teach this team to look for?
Well, typically when we're looking at programming for students with autism, there are 5 things that I recommend that are from like what's called the Ziggurat model.
Okay.
Ziggurat is just a stair-stepped ancient temple. That's just the model that they use because you look at these 5 stair-step kind of things. And so there are 5 steps, things that you have to make sure that are in place to have successful programming for that student in order for everything to be working and in place. The first level is looking at the sensory needs and the biological needs. Oftentimes what I find is that when there is a student that's having a problem or that the programming is not working, they look at sensory last when it should be the first.
Yes.
Because if we have a child in an environment whose sensory needs are not being met, then they can't operate in that environment.
Right.
So we have to make sure that we've met those sensory needs. Okay. Then we have to look at the biological needs to see how those are affecting the student. Many of our students with autism have sleep issues. They have eating problems. There might be medication issues. Right. There may be things that have happened outside the home or in the home that have changed. So we have to look at the biological needs and make sure that those are being met also. The next step is reinforcement, because no new learning is going to happen with our students without reinforcement. Right. They have to have a bigger paycheck. So we have to look at what are we going to reinforce, how are we going to reinforce it, when are we going to reinforce it, and what are we going to use for that reinforcement. Okay. So reinforcement is critically important.
Right.
The next step then is looking at the structured environment and visual supports. Okay. Our students who have autism, the majority are visual learners as opposed to auditory learners. So because verbal information for them is very transient, it's there and then it's gone. Mm-hmm. So they need to know where to find that information. It's just as important for them to know where to find that information as it is to have the information. So we need to be able to provide for them visually where to find information, how to make transitions throughout their day. They need that predictability about what's going to happen and that routine. And, and we all use some type of visual supports.
Absolutely. I need my calendar.
Absolutely. And we have to have lesson plan books and iPads and iPhones, and we all use that. And our kids with autism need those even more and probably will throughout their life. So visual supports are very important, and then structured environment so that we know what's going to happen where in the classroom and those type of things. Then the next thing that we look at is task demands. Because we need to make sure that the task that we're asking that student to do is not too difficult for them.
Right.
So, for example, if in an early childhood classroom we're having circle time, and that circle time is going to last for 15 minutes, but I have a student who can't sit for more than 2, then I'm asking way too much. I'm demanding way too much for that task.
Right.
And so I know that I'm going to have
behaviors
with that child. So I may have to do a layered circle time for him. Okay. And then the next is, then what are the skills that we need to teach this child to be successful?
Okay.
Because typically when you look at behavior for our students with autism, behind every behavior, there is either a lagging skill or an unsolved problem.
That's beautiful.
So we've got to figure out what's that lagging skill. What is the skill that we need to teach them in order for them to be successful in that environment?
Fantastic. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, if our viewers wanted to find more information, where could they do that?
They could go to the website, the Indiana Resource Center for Autism website.
Okay.
If they went to that website, then they could find visual supports that are free and downloadable.
Really?
Yes. There's probably about 100 of them right now, and there's going to be more. There are also some links to other free websites for free visuals that they can download. There are articles, there's videos, there's information about resources for families, for individuals, for professionals for autism.
Wow.
If they want to find out more information about the 24 evidence-based practices, then they can go to the National Professional Development Center for Autism Spectrum Disorders, and they'll find all the 24 evidence-based practices listed.
Yes. Each
practice has a module or a brief, that's what it's called, and each brief has an overview of that practice, all the research that they have found for that practice, a step-by-step guide on how to do that.
Wow.
And then it'll have what's called an implementation checklist, which you can use to make sure that you're doing it with consistency and fidelity.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Because oftentimes people may be using the right evidence-based practices, but not with the consistency and the fidelity, and that's very important.
And that is so important.
It is.
All right. Thank you so much, Christy, for joining
You're
me today.
So welcome.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed listening to Christy as much as I enjoyed having her on the show. Thank you so much for joining me here at Behavior Communicates, where I help you create a life for you and your child or your student where you both get what you really want and what you really need. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and leave a comment below and share it with all your friends on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and all your other social media. If you haven't yet signed up for Behavior Communicates, get on over there and sign up. You'll get my weekly blog and video and other resources and information that I only share with my subscribers. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.